Welcome, everyone, to Vision Untethered podcast, conversations with inspirational leaders. My name is Jill Simons. I am founder of Savvy Strategic Partners. We are a full service, dedicated leadership team of fractional executives executing vision, increasing business value, and helping founder owners realize freedom. Today, my wonderful guest joins me. Ryan Redding is the founder of Levergy, which just was recently acquired by Kickcharge Creative. They are a company focused on transforming how businesses in the trades industry approach their operations. With a passion for improving efficiency and empowering contractors, Ryan has built Levergy to provide innovative solutions that help businesses streamline their processes, boost productivity, and achieve sustainable growth. Thank you so much for joining me, Ryan. I'm so
Yeah,
excited to have you.
it's great to be on. Thanks for the invite. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be. Especially, I mean, maybe what comes up too naturally with having just been acquired and the journey of merging and um,
All
all the
those
things.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's perfect timing.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
great because this is fresh. We just went I don't want to like timestamp this conversation too much, but just like
Hmm.
4 days ago we just went public with the announcement. So a lot of the industry that we're in is still kind of reacting and responding. So that's really fun to see.
Hmm.
And we just told our team earlier this week too. So everyone's like, what does this mean? How's the process work now? And we're still kind of in the
Yeah.
muck of like all the integrative elements. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's all kinds of all things.
Yeah. How's the receptivity been in the market so far?
It's flipping awesome. It is really really cool to see. Both from our clients, the company that tucked us in, their
Yeah.
clients, just people that are in the industry who know the work that both of us are known for. It's been really 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 cool. Because
Yeah.
they are like in the space that we're in, they are probably the best of the best of the best with branding companies. They have a
Hmm.
really distinctive approach and have really high impact results of the work they do. And
Yeah.
we, for the most part, our bread and butter was like on the digital fulfillment of those things. We would overlap into a lot of operational elements a lot,
Yeah.
but typically like they would do the branding and then they would just do a handover and we'd do all the digital elements. So now it's like cool, we can tuck these in and have a seamless transition. It is a really
Yes.
really nice alignment. Very very little like redundant efforts. It's entirely
Hmm.
complementary. And now it's like
That's
cool,
beautiful.
now we're like we have to identify now as a creative agency, which is kind of a new
Okay.
thing too, because we,
Yeah.
we haven't been really creative. And now it's like, oh, cool, that's a whole
Got
other thing.
it.
So yeah, it's been really, really cool though to see the market reception. It's been awesome.
Hmm. Where that blend of creativity and operational excellence can
Yeah.
now operate as one.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful marriage of two organizations that complement each other.
Yeah. So it's been a trip. It's been a
Yeah.
trip getting all this together and to see how our teams responded, their teams responded, our clients, their
Mm.
clients, just the market in general it's been really, really cool.
Aw, congrats. It's
Thanks.
exciting. So, what inspired your journey into business ownership? What's your purpose? And
Oh,
how
yeah.
how does it align with, especially where you are with the unique challenges and acquisition and also scaling?
So that is a hard question for me because I feel like a lot of people start a business with a grandiose dream or grandiose vision. Like they want to change the world, right? They want to
Hmm.
make a bajillion dollars. They want to make whatever. That's cool. Everything about this business for me was started just by accident. At the time, I was working in academia as so that without getting into it, the SBA has a program where they want to help the local economies where some academic universities are planted. So I became for Oklahoma State University their pet project of helping support the economy. So I'd work with think of Main
Mm.
Street small business. And most
Okay.
people know like the bakers, the chiropractors, the self-storage places, like
Yep.
all these things on Main Street. Good, salty the earth type of people, not necessarily solid business acumen, but just good people that know their trade or their craft.
Yeah.
And so my job was to help them with help them with getting SBA funding, help them with hiring strategies, help them with risk mitigation and disaster contingency planning, help them with marketing, like just whatever the variety of things that that particular economy dealt with and was important to them, I would help navigate these. At the
Yeah.
time, eh, I was like, all these companies are really good people. They do great work, whatever their work is, but they just maybe had really crappy websites. And so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just do these guys a solid. I'll just like for $100 a month, kind of on the side for like some folding cash. I'll just get them a website that doesn't suck, help
Mm-hmm.
represent them, help them get more business. And like
Sure.
they win, I get a little bit of money. I can like whatever, eat extra tacos on Thursdays, whatever. Um, and then one of the guys we picked up in this time, so we to this day have bakers, chiropractors, self storage places. They're still on the books,
Yeah.
but one of the
Okay.
guys we picked up at this time was a plumber. There's nothing special about him, but just one of these dozens of Main Street industries, and
Mhm.
uh, within about when we first met him, he was maybe making 150K top line. I think last year he finished just over 6.3 mil.
Wow.
And like he just had this like really transformative growth from
Yeah,
that he would
that's
directly attribute to
huge.
the work we did. And so he was the first one to be
Mm,
like, bro, you got to stop doing all these other people. Like, stop doing all the restaurants, stop to like just focus on people like me because clearly you know what we're doing. We're happy to pay for it. And I wrestled with that for a while, to be honest, like because niching felt weird. It felt like,
hmm,
was this an industry we really wanted to serve? And after some wrestling, it was like, all right, fine. But I just kind of kept making one accidental good mistake after another. It was just
mm,
haphazard. It was kind of random. And really kind of the intent was just to help people, right? At first it was
mhm.
like help them in Oklahoma, like tornadoes are the thing. Like you're
Yeah,
gonna get tornadoes in the spring. So help people like if a tornado comes through, you're gonna be able
yeah,
to hit payroll. You're gonna not your business isn't gonna go under. Like help them prep those things. But it's just
yeah,
helping. And then it's like, oh, let's help them with the website. Oh, let's help them with ops. Let's help them with like everything just came find ways to help. And for that particular guy, he started paying us like I remember being like he would pay $100 a month, then it was three, then it was 500, then it was 1,000, then it was 1,500, then it was 2,000. Like he just kept giving us more money.
yeah.
And every time he gave more money, I'm like, the hell am I supposed to do with this? So I just kept finding more ways to help
Finding ways
him.
to help him. Yeah.
And so like so that's really the nexus of everything is not this master
Mm,
plan. There's no business plan. There's no like, oh, there's this market opportunity we've identified. Like, no, this is just like, I just want a
helping people's
good
business.
dude. Yeah. I just want to help people and be a good human. So as it's evolved, that ethos has remained. It's just gotten
Hmm.
way more sophisticated. And I'm really fortunate that my platform's gotten much larger, but the
Hmm.
core of it is still the same. It's still just like help people.
Hmm.
So that plays a lot, just not only to what Leveragey was and now Kickcharge is continuing to be, but it's something that I know that I sleep well at night. I know that I put a good impact and example for the kids in my life that are upstairs right now
Hmm.
because it's a snow day. Um, it's it's one of these things that it makes me really proud that it wasn't necessarily smarts that is creating the impact. It's just like, uh, it's just give a damn. It's this idea of wanting to care to help people make the world better. And I think
Yeah.
like the fact that people can say that that does is the coolest thing ever.
Oh, I love that. Talk about purpose driven for sure. That's
Yeah.
if your sole purpose is then like, okay, how can I help? Right? You
Yeah.
have the expertise, to, as far as the business sense, how to solve that problem with them. You're in it with them. Then as they grow, you're growing.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah. It was the coolest trip.
Yeah, I relate with you a lot in that I think just as you're saying it and articulating it the way you did, that when you're asked that oftentimes like, whoa, so how did you get into this, like how did you come up with this, oftentimes it really isn't this really sexy story of this epiphany dream you've
Yeah.
had and like
Yeah.
this vision of something, and the way it's evolving as you get there, right? It's kind of like you can't really put into words what that 10-year view of it might be But each of those next steps, the right steps you're taking, if your intent is pure and your intent is to help, those opportunities just kind of unfold
Yeah.
as you go. So that's amazing. Way to build those
Yeah.
opportunities and
Yeah.
do what you
Thanks.
love and make an impact. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And it's cool. And I'm very humbled by the journey. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, I love how you mentioned the kind of happy mistakes. What is a pivotal failure that you've encountered in this journey, and how did you shift that to kind of shape your
Oh,
growth
geez.
strategy?
Uh,
Maybe some of
I
those are
don't,
the happy mistakes. I don't know. Those.
I don't, so this is one of the things is I think, I don't know if I could point to one big failure. I think it's a long series of failures,
Mm,
but I think growing up for me and maybe for a lot of people, the idea of making mistakes is terrifying and cripples them from making a decision
hmm.
or maybe even from taking a chance.
Yes.
Um, and in reality, most people learn through failure. When you're learning to ride a bike as a kid, you're gonna fall off the bike. You're gonna scrape your knee, right? You're gonna go
Right.
like run into the tree. That why on earth did you not swerve and hit the tree? Like people are gonna have these
Hmm.
things in their life that help them learn how to
Yeah.
ride a better bike. And so for me, I want to say it was right around 2020 when it felt like everything was super stressful and the world was like going to hell super fast.
Hmm.
I want to say I don't know what it was. I don't remember the one particular event, but I remember two things that I started telling myself. One, I'm going to win or I'm going to learn. But if I do one of those two things, I'm not going to fail. Right.
Hmm.
So is this kind of this mindset of like embrace the failure? Like there's no harm in failure as long as
Yeah.
you learn the lesson. Like you either win or you learn.
Right.
Um, and then the other thing was like I wanted to make my brain bigger than the problem. So there was
Oh,
almost this permission to be like something seems too daunting or seems too terrifying or too complex. It was like this
yeah.
mantra of like, no, 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 take a second, step back, make your brain bigger than the problem.
Mm,
And that really became a way of giving myself permission to go, this is a solvable thing. There is a solution to be had. This is not daunting. And I might make the wrong decision. I might do my best effort and fail, and that's cool. But as long
mhm.
as I learn, I'm good. So I've made that decision with process, with people, with like if it's businessy, it's like VSP, USP sort of things. It could be things with
Yeah.
like just all these things kind of line up where you go, hey, you're just always learning, you're always improving, you're always getting better. You're not always gonna win.
Yeah.
Um, but as long as you learn, you're great. You're in a good spot. So I,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's one big failure of like, oh man, I gotta tell you this big mistake. I don't. It's just I I
Yeah.
have failed. I have failed a ton.
I love that you said that too, because that is one of, you can't read it because it's kind of the
Yeah,
depth
it's
of
all
depth
Gaussian
perception.
blurry. Yeah.
Yeah, but that one right there does say on the, I'm pointing for those of you not watching that are just listening, I'm pointing to one of the canvases on the wall behind me that says sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Yeah.
So that's literally what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fail
So it's
forward. It's failing
fail
forward
forward, fail
because
fast, fail cheap, fail often. Like do the things, but
yeah, if it can be done cheaply,
even
that's a
better.
win because usually those big mistakes are painfully felt when it's extremely costly,
But sometimes that's
monetarily
required.
wise or
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's going to be
Sometimes that's
costs.
required. Yep. 100%.
Love it. What are some of the indicators for you in your experience that you realized you may be too deeply involved, and how did that perhaps limit the company's ability at any point in this journey to scale or to grow?
Oh yeah, that's happened a few times too.
Mm,
Um, I think I think probably a big one was there's a few, I'm trying to remember this, maybe 2022 perhaps. Um, I realized I was used to it. I was maybe working 80, 90 hours a week and company was growing. So at some point you become addicted to the adrenaline. You get addicted to that like chaos. you get addicted. At least for me, I was addicted to the pace. To this
Mm-hmm.
day, I still hold incredibly early mornings. I still work very full, busy days. But I remember I was talking with a friend of mine who owns an agency in Georgia, and I respect the hell out of this guy. And he's like asking me about my day, and I'm just like, I'm just answering him. I'm not even thinking about it, right? I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
request for information, information provided. Like we're just talking. And he goes, I remember he just looked me in the eye and goes, why the hell do you have all these really smart people around you and then you sit in their seat? And I remember being like, oh, geez. Okay. Point made. I totally just felt like I had all these people on payroll and I was doing the jobs that they were literally hired, willing, capable, wanting to do. Not because I didn't trust them necessarily, it's just I was addicted to my own chaos. And so the next day
Mm-hmm.
happened to be a regularly scheduled staff meeting. Like it was not an ad hoc, it was already on the calendar. I
Mm-hmm.
walked into the staff meeting. I said, hey guys, this will be really quick. Uh, um, as of today, I am firing myself. You're each responsible for your own shit. If you break it, fix it. I'm going to Napa. And I went to Napa for like 3 weeks just to
Nice.
drink wine and enjoy NorCal. And in the process, it was like one of these things of it gave me a hard break to recognize that, oh, I can totally walk away. I can trust people. I can like remove myself
Yeah.
from the distraction and the chaos and the mayhem. But also it gave them a chance to feel the weight of, oh no, they're responsible for putting out the fires. They're responsible for taking care of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's their weight
Mm-hmm.
now. And it was nice that I wasn't around to like swoop in, like peek over their shoulder. How's things going? You liking the
Yeah.
change? Like, nope. I am, don't bother
Yeah,
me.
you
I'm
were
drinking wine.
full cold turkey
I am day
drinking
drinking.
wine.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Um, but that was probably one of the biggest things about realizing that
Yeah.
I, without knowing, I can get into the weeds on things just because of the like a lot of people
Hmm.
who start things for themselves, they like that
Yeah.
pace.
Hmm.
Um, but I had to learn to separate myself, and sometimes it's weird.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's really, really weird. But
Yeah. Has that
yeah.
changed the pace for you as well? Or do you still find yourself in that addiction mode
This is
of
probably the
needing?
worst time to ask me that question. So prior
Yeah,
to
if
this
you hadn't
acquisition
just gone
process,
through a
yeah,
business acquisition, yeah, things
prior
are
to the acquisition,
crazy.
things were, I was maybe working a good solid 10, 15 hours a week,
Yeah.
which I was cool. Still
Hmm.
early mornings, but it's fine. I can get my stuff done, have meetings, have the contacts in, jump in
Sure.
as needed. But it
Hmm.
wasn't super crazy. Um, Once the acquisition started picking up, once the LOI was on the table and post acquisition, I feel like I've been working insanely hard and busy just to get all the integration done because there's just so much involved. So
Yeah.
uh, right now, no, I'm probably closer back to the 78-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
Um, but it's because I'm trying to compress a timeline as fast as I can. So
Exactly.
um, so it's weird. I'm mindful that it's like I'm burning too hard. But I also know that it's very, very short term and it will resolve itself soon.
Hmm.
But right now it's the worst possible time for me to brag about look how removed I am from ops
Yeah. I mean, the
because I'm
circumstances
very
are
not.
definitely different,
Yeah,
but I think just what you said leading up to that point, because there's definitely going to be there's those phases and growth phases of the business and transitions and businesses in transition. Yeah, the
100%.
demand that it takes is going to be different than once it's got a smooth foundation.
Yep,
So,
100%.
yeah. So I come from a background and family of addiction, and so I'm fascinated by our patterns as humans and everything you've been talking about, like addiction to the chaos, because I think
Hmm.
innately in all of us, we're all addicted to something. So are you open to kind of talking a little bit about the chaos and the pace and what psychological factors in that maybe have you learned throughout this journey as well in your
Yeah,
awareness that those stem from, and then how they can either be a how they can be a double-edged sword sometimes.
yeah, 100%. And I think, um, let me also say, I think this particular topic is a needed and helpful one and will not be fully explored in this conversation.
Right. We're
Um,
gonna scratch the surface here.
yeah, if that, like, this is like the scratch and sniff of all scratch and sniffs. So I would say, and there's a decent amount of data that I've read that kind of backs it up, that people who tend to start businesses or be entrepreneurial types are the same type of people who be either super into like sports when they were growing up, or super into drugs when they
Mhm.
were a little bit older, or super into pick a vice.
Intense.
It is a
Hmm.
chemical predisposition to be like all in all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
and for some people they express that through like religion. For some people they express that through an affinity group like golf. For some people it's like
Hmm.
business, whatever. So um, I also come from a family of addiction.
Mm.
So it's been one of those things I've been mindful of that influence
Yeah.
for nearly as long as I can remember. And to the point where like I to this day I've never had a cigarette. Like I remember being like in my 20s being
Hmm.
afraid to touch a can of beer.
Yeah. Same.
Just like this kind of mindful. I love
Hmm.
coffee. I will
Hmm.
not drink coffee every day because I don't want this like dependency on caffeine. So like there's these weird things that
Hmm.
I'm very, very mindful of, like
Yes.
the chemical dependency or craving that comes up by these foreign substances. Not that they're all
Hmm.
bad, not that they're evil, not that people drink caffeine or the spawn of Satan. It's just that for me, I want to be very mindful of the things that I'm gravitating towards or using to
Yeah.
cope or respond
Yep.
to different sorts of stimuli.
Hmm.
So I'm very, very mindful of that. What's
Yeah.
interesting though is when I have response to stress, my stress response seems to bypass that other sort of cognitive awareness. So for me, when I see something that needs to be dealt with, my first thing is like, I just got to stop and fix it and take care of it. So
Yeah.
a lot of people talk about fight or flight, that when you're under
Hmm.
stress, like in panic, that there's like, hey, either get away or you just like pretend to be dead. Um, but there's actually several different types that most people aren't consciously aware of unless they do a lot of study in this sort of area.
Hmm.
One of the other types is one called focus. Focus is ones that the United States military literally trains our special forces to have, which is this idea of, for the special forces, they're going to train you all these things. Here's weaponry, here's specialized techniques, here's how combat works, like all these things. They're going to teach you all these special things. Now they're going to starve you of food. They're going to deprive you of sleep. They're going to put you in a chaotic situation. They're going to take your plan, give you a plan, and then the plan's going to go to hell. And then they're going to say, great, now make smart choices.
Hmm.
And they teach these operators to operate in a way of, it doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter what you thought was going to happen. This is what's happening now. Get through it.
Hmm.
And in the focus mode, it's literally this idea of, you're not really paying attention to the bullets. You're not really paying attention to the explosions. You're not really paying attention to the fire, right? You're just doing what has to be done to get to
Yeah.
safety. Once you get to safety, you often crack and crumble. And I have found that personally true. I can get through a hell of a lot
Yeah.
of stress.
Yeah.
And I do that with focus, right? I
Hmm.
respond to this, I do what needs to be done. I can shoulder
Yeah.
through and I can He-Man up all day.
Hmm.
Once I'm kind of out of the other side, once the bullets have stopped and the explosions have calmed down, then it's like everything
Then it
catches up.
hits you. Oh, yeah.
So I have to give myself permission and space to be human in those moments.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it gets very destructive very quick. But it is this interesting thing of recognizing that stress responses are normal and biological and appropriate. Like it is an
Hmm.
evolutionary survival mechanism.
Hmm.
However, the way that we tend to respond to those things does determine like how effective or healthy our life will become. So yeah, so to this day I'm still like really mindful of caffeine, really mindful of, like I
Hmm.
mentioned earlier, like I don't drink a lot of beer, right? I just don't.
Hmm.
Um but I am mindful that I tend to be inclined to focus,
You,
right?
you channel your
Um
addiction in a way still that fuels whatever
100%.
complex might be happening, that
Yep.
you're utilizing that thing to cope with those underlying emotions, whether it's
Yep.
fear, whether it's scarcity, whether it's a survival mechanism.
A
That's
hundred
all
percent. It is
we're,
just get out of harm's way.
yep.
Um
Mm,
so
so cool.
that's that's for me how I tend to to react and respond to things.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing that. I didn't
Yeah.
didn't realize we had that that commonality either. Everything you said too, I can completely relate to, and just similarity in how I go full force. And I think oftentimes I've been complimented by my focus. I am
Yeah.
a complete, nothing is done until it's, there's things that I struggle with putting a stop to or pausing, even if it's in my day. If there's one thing kind of unsettled or something, I'm like, ooh, I would, even if it's just like, I don't have to get to that today, but I could. And it just moves me one step closer to this. If it's not quite done, I wrestle with that incompletion and
Mm.
when I'm in that focus, sometimes I have this fear that like tomorrow I may not have that. And so when I am all in it and I'm in that focus, I've been complimented it for it, but oftentimes I can I can recognize those patterns in myself when I'm on my second latte for the day. I'm supercharged. Oh, I want the caffeine because I'm feeling in that zone. And oftentimes it's to a detriment
Yeah.
because when things stop or the completion of it or then moving on to the next thing and I can finally breathe, I've worn myself to a point of burnout or,
Yeah.
it's almost like now all I can think is like maybe I just need to lay in the fetal position for because
Yeah.
I made it to safety in my mind. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, recognizing those patterns and um, the kind of the mental spiral I take sometimes with treating those things as if there is an imminent danger for survival. And that's been the real kicker and change is not treating everything in this kind of chaos and what I'm working toward as if there's a danger if I don't. If there's I'm gonna fail or this is all gonna fall apart and I'm gonna be on the street if I don't do this.
Yeah. And
It
it's
sometimes
interesting.
literally has that intensity.
It does. And that's the deal. So that's the deal about like the evolutionary biology of the brain, right? Is that it responds to chemical injections that it secretes. So imagine for a lot of people, if you're sitting here at your desk, like at least I'm at a desk, if I out of the periphery of my eye see what I think is a spider, I don't even like
Hmm.
recognize the spider. I'm not going to take the time to look down and be like, oh, what species is this thing? Nope, your brain will see this weird nebulous shape that it can't quite detect in the corner
And
of your
it's
vision. And
danger.
for most
Hmm.
people, they will like destroy their leg to like kill the spider, right? Punch, kick, scream, yell, holler, whatever, get out. That's how the brain responds to stress. It doesn't mean that the spider is deadly. It doesn't mean that the spider will burn down your house, although they might. Um, it is
Hmm.
literally just an impulsive chemical response. Your brain secretes a hormone, your brain goes, get out of
Yeah.
here, and you react. So it's not that there are really objective levels of stress response, right? Of like, hey,
Yeah.
this is really, really bad, and this is really, really not bad, because
Yeah.
it's not a cognitive decision. That part of the brain turns off when the
Hmm.
lower part of the brain turns on. So we don't
Mm,
have the ability to do that.
right.
All we can do is start giving ourselves permission to recognize the stages of those things, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm feeling this sort of response, and then kind of, unfortunately for our brains, the chemicals have to be metabolized, they have to be processed. So
Hmm.
oftentimes we have to give ourselves that 7 to 15 minute window to do the thing, to be panicked, to be chaotic, to be stressed, to be like everything's
Yeah.
broken. And then, okay, chemicals are gone. Now I can go back and revisit and be like, okay, it's not really that big of a deal.
Yep.
Uh, but we can't interrupt that chemical mechanism from happening, right?
Yeah.
So, the more that I think all of us can understand that not everything's urgent, not everything's important, not everything's critical.
Hmm.
It might feel like that for a moment, like a 7 to 15
Right.
minute period, and that's totally appropriate. It'd be weird if that didn't happen,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean that it actually is.
Okay.
Um, so I think I'm agreeing with you, teaching yourself like not just like the not everything's urgent, not everything's critical, not everything's important, not everything's like but also recognizing your brain has to go through that response mechanism. It
Hmm.
just that's how it's wired to do.
Right.
Um, and it's not wrong if you think that everything's a spider. Just
Right.
recognize later, like, sorry guys, my bad. That's not a spider. I'm cool again. You can put away the blowtorch.
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And not to shame, yeah, no shame in the mind needing to go through that or shaming yourself for that
No,
stress response.
no.
Um,
If
but
we learned anything about the movie Waterboy, it's the Abdullah Ablangata is a very,
hmm
very powerful weapon. And we just have to understand it.
yeah,
And especially if you're a high functioning CEO or just a leader in any sort of capacity, this sort of
hmm
thing is very, very real because it's often triggered, it's often exposed, and it's often very vulnerable. And you have to
yeah,
recognize that not just you, but the people that you're around are going to have similar sort of stress responses. And you have to learn not to leverage it, but to work with it,
right,
to
right.
recognize it when it's happening. Oh,
hmm
so right, and to lead in such a way that lets other people be human too, and not get mad
Right.
because other people had emotional reactions to something they just threw on
Yeah,
them. Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Because oftentimes I think we're in a blind spot when we're in that stress response initially. And it's easy to it's easy to receive it from others when we're in a calm state and, collectively bring calm to the storm, by not shaming it, but by calling it out and working through a solution together to kind of walk out of and move your way out of that stress response.
yeah.
Yeah, love it. What leadership misstep would you say taught you the most about aligning your vision with effective execution? Something along the way, maybe, that then was a lesson to help you move your business forward in a new light.
Um, that's an interesting question. I think for me, probably my biggest personal transition was going to like hiring people that I tended to like. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I've always had this like idea of like hire with what I'd call the five C's, like character, culture, competency, chemistry. Character, culture, competency. Am I missing one?
Character,
Uh,
culture, competency.
competency. I'm missing one. But this idea of like
Hmm
saying, like you kind of want them to competencies that can they do what they need to do,
Yeah.
right? That's like permission to play. And then characters like when push comes to shove, they're gonna take the high road. They're gonna throw someone under the bus, or they're gonna do what's right even when it hurts. And
Yeah.
part of it's also like the chemistry is like, dude, I just want to have a beer with this person. Like, do I like
hmm
spending time with them? Because for a lot of people, we work with our colleagues more than we're with our families. And so like it's all these things. And so I'd put a lot of weight in like, cool, well, they're smart, they're good, they do this, but and I like hanging out with them. Why not? And that's fine to a point. But at some point I realized that, man, sometimes these people I like, because I like them, it clouded my ability to be kind of critical on
hmm
what I needed them to accomplish. So I started moving my approach to a values first but outcome based process of evaluating, like selecting, identifying,
hmm
recruiting, and evaluating people.
hmm
So now in our job descriptions, it's like, nope, here's exactly what you're expected to produce, not do.
Yeah.
I don't care about the actions. I care about the
Yeah. Or
outcomes.
how you do it. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
what are the
don't really care.
results?
Yep,
Hmm
I care about the outcomes. So um, they know from like the time they first see a job description, this is the outcome that's expected. And then when we
Yeah.
do sort of uh, interview questions and assessments, it's all outcome
hmm
driven. So
hmm
all those other things are still true. Like there's still like a need for character. There's still a need for culture. Like all those things are valid. But at the end of the day, I want to filter out 99.99999% of people
Yeah.
who still share all those things and really focus on just a fraction of people who have the capability of being outcome oriented. Once I made that pivot, it was just so
Mm.
much easier.
Yep.
Um, just so much easier. So then it's like, cool, everyone's looking at the same goal. I don't have to worry about like, what did you do? What actions did you take? Did you like, I don't care. They don't
hmm
care. They're going after the same goal. They're trying to get the outcome I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
It just becomes a lot easier to work with people in that way.
Yeah. Good takeaways for sure. How how does excessive involvement in a business affect valuation and readiness for transition? This is prime topic for timing in
Yeah.
terms of what you've gone through. What are some takeaways for you in what led to successful acquisition, and how, an excessive involvement or dependency with you as that leader, and only so much reliance initially on early on, like you said.
Yeah.
How would that maybe have been a hindrance during
Oh, it would have been a
this
big freaking
transition?
deal. It would have been a deal breaker.
Right.
Um, the business is only as valuable as it is a machine to somebody else to leverage. So several years ago, I made the very conscious decision of I don't know what my exit plans are. I don't know what my continuity plans are,
Mhm.
but I want to make decisions in a way that I could exit at any point of my choosing.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to think like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about this now. I'm not going to be exiting for 2 years. It's like, nope, I wanted
Mhm.
the entire time kind of be building with that option in mind if it
Yeah.
came up. So
Hmm.
by the time the conversation started for us, like 6, 7 months ago, I think,
Hmm.
um, it wasn't a challenge. It wasn't complicated. It
Hmm.
wasn't like, oh, well, I got to move these funds here and change the legal structure here, and I got to change the leadership team. Get like, nope. It was already set up in a way that was able to be transferred really quickly.
Mm.
If I was deeply enmeshed in everything, not only would our valuation be really small, but our desirability be very low
Right.
because now I'm not, they wouldn't be buying a business, they'd be buying a me.
Hmm.
And nobody wants to buy me. Um, so part of the thing now is to continue to remove myself from the business so that other people can step in. There's room for everyone at the table, and we keep
Hmm.
doing great work. The challenge I think that I ran into the most that I still deal with is I have a platform in my space, so I'm recognizable. I have a reputation. I
Yeah.
speak at conferences, so
Hmm.
it's one of these things where um, it's hard to replace and synthesize that sort of dynamic
Yeah.
because that's not necessarily SOP. That's not necessarily like, hey, internally,
Right.
this is how we do the thing that we do. It's like, no, this is just the reputation and to some certain degree a sense of brand equity. It just happens to be a personal brand that's carrying a business logo with it.
Yeah.
So those are the harder things to synthesize.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone, because of that, everyone wants access to me for those things, right? They all want,
Right.
and that's not always possible. So
Hmm.
it, that becomes a kind of challenge to build up people around me that are of such
Right.
high character and value that nobody wants to talk to me really. Like
Hmm.
once they talk to these other people, like, ah, dude, okay, well, Ryan we thought was cool, but now we know Adam exists and we will talk to Adam. Thanks.
Hmm.
So that becomes the goal is to be the
Yeah. That's
dumbest
the next
person at the
phase.
table. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Love it. Yeah. Is that kind of what's next in terms of this acquisition and kind of first steps in integrating and the blending of these two? And what's your role in it? Is your involvement once we're past kind of the initial stages here, where do you see yourself? What's next?
Yeah. So there's if no one's ever done a tuck-in role under anything, there's just a lot of moving pieces that have to get figured out
Yeah.
from people and roles and culture and like even
Hmm.
things like benefits to like those things are just kind of annoying to deal with to like tech integration and process and how do you take all of
Yeah.
your historical process data kind of move it over here in a way that's not disruptive but complementary.
Right.
There's just a lot of like nerd level sort of things that aren't fun, they're not exciting, but
Hmm.
you forget that you build your business year over year over year, right? You build these things over time, you don't build
Hmm.
them at once, and now you have to try to consolidate them within months.
Yeah. Right.
So it's just a lot to deconstruct and then reintegrate.
Put back together. Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So my role is now CMO, which is a different thing, which is awesome and fine and cool, but I will
Hmm.
likely still have a presence on like conference stages and still will
Yeah.
continue the podcast, still will continue to write probably, uh,
Hmm.
but just kind of from a different sort of niche. So now it's like I
Yeah.
don't have to carry the weight of payroll. I don't have to carry the weight of like, do we have the right, who's in the right seats? I don't have to carry the weight of like whatever. I don't have to do the
Nice.
whole full sort of thing of like risk management and mitigation for everything that could possibly come up. That's like
Yeah.
cool. Now I just get my little bucket of things. I get my bucket
Yeah.
of things.
Having
I have
fun.
yeah. So I'm really looking forward to like once all the nerdy, not sexy, fun stuff is done and wrapped up, so that I
Yeah.
could kind of sit back for a second and take a breath and enjoy this new role.
Yeah. You've earned it for sure. What is it that you think is keeping business owners from that mindset you mentioned that was early on in your journey of even if, even if I don't know the exact exit kind of plan or where this would go, w- what's holding business owners back from that mentality far ahead of the game, far ahead of needing to make that decision or being at the point of, wanting to burn the place down, maybe because they've gotten to a point of just so much overwhelm and stress underneath it that they want to get out. Why
Yeah,
aren't they
but I think
avoiding that?
it's I think that's kind of human, right? Most people just think about what's
Hmm.
immediately in front of them instead of like what's after that. So
Yeah.
it's not uncommon for any business owner to be mindful of like, hey, this is what they have to do. This is the way they've done it. This is what they need to do, and this is what they have to get by, and not
Hmm.
really think pragmatically about a couple steps ahead.
Right.
Um, a lot of people when you talk about like SOPs and process development, they're like, nope, no, thank you. I would rather like I'd rather eat hot coals for breakfast than deal with writing an SOP manual. And I don't blame them. Like that's not fun. It's not sexy. That stuff kind of is the guide to getting themselves out of the middle of muck. I think a lot of people like to be needed. They like to be depended on. So the idea of having a business that doesn't need them, that's
Hmm.
scary for a lot of people. Like
Hmm.
what the hell would they do then? Whatever the hell you want to do, bro.
Hmm.
Like those things are legit challenges. I think other people they
Yeah.
lack they lack the awareness of the impact of those decisions too. So somebody
Hmm.
who's like tied up deeply in the business and they're looking at like, well, this is how much you cut my bank account. This is what I got there. They think that that's the value of their business, and they don't realize that the fact that they're so deeply enmeshed actually negatively impacts the business valuation. It takes away options for them to be removed from.
Exactly.
Um, so it's really hard. And I talked to someone yesterday who I've known for years, and I won't get into the specifics, but their business is in a really tough spot. And they're like, well,
Hmm.
maybe someone will just come in and like invest on us so we can get through this. And either like, guys, no one's going to invest in you. No one's going to swoop in and save the day. No one's going to come in with cash and say, you guys have done great. Figure it out. Just keep going. There's nothing
Right.
here for somebody to want to do that for. You have to figure this out. You have to do the work. And that's
Yeah.
hard. That is
Hmm.
hard. That is lonely. That is isolating.
Yeah.
That's why most businesses don't sell. That's why most
Hmm.
businesses don't get acquired. That's why most businesses fail.
Right.
Um, so it's just it's complicated, and I think humans are
Yeah. Complicated
hum-
too.
they don't make always rational decisions. They make emotional decisions and then try to reinforce it with logic.
Yeah.
Uh, so uh, I think it puts us in a spot where we kind of just get ourselves in our own way and then get mad that the outcome isn't what we want. So
Right.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Good answer. I agree with that. I can see that for sure. I I relate it a lot to the purchasing of a home or selling of a home as an asset, right? Where it's
Hmm.
like you've got this fixer upper. There's only a certain business buyer, right, that's going to want to come in
Hmm.
seeing the work that needs to be done to that home in order for that to be an ROI and an investment for them. And so, similarly to selling that as an asset, if you've left it in disarray and you're expecting that and you're just drowning under everything that needs to be done and all the projects and all the things that are broken and you just see it all in front of you and yet you're just hoping someone's going to come along, swoop in, and you have some expectation in your mind of a number and value of what that's going to be
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah.
But for all the work that needs to go into that business and to be done to, to actually build it as a value asset without you operating it, um, you're leaving money on the table by kind of setting yourself up for less value and less of an opportunity
Yeah.
and
It's
expecting someone else to save you.
yeah. It's almost like this weird sort of thing. Like everybody wants a beach body. Like everybody wants to like be able to take their shirt
Sure.
off at the pool in July and be like, look at that person. Um,
Hmm.
Nobody wants to eat broccoli and rice. Nobody wants to wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym. Nobody wants to like make sure you get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Like nobody wants to like put down the beer. Like nobody wants to do the things that get the outcome they want. Everyone wants the result, but no one wants the work. Everyone wants the peak view, but no
Yeah.
one wants to climb up the mountain.
Hmm.
And it's just one of these things of it's hella hard and it's hella lonely.
Yeah.
So I think it's not for everyone, but I think
Hmm.
for the people who are intentional about building something that outlasts their specific engagement with the business, I think those people have the ability to impact a lot of lives around them.
Hmm. Yeah, agreed. Finally, then, what would be practical steps, kind of as a segue into a final question? What would be practical steps you suggest for founders, business owners that are struggling to delegate while also maintaining alignment with the vision?
So there's two things here. One, if there are not EOS people, there's a tool called the Delegate and Elevate tool that is actually a helpful exercise to help you see like what you enjoy doing, what you're good at, what
Hmm.
you don't enjoy doing, what you're not good at.
Yeah,
Do that thing. Find ways to arbitrage your task load. Like just get the
yeah.
stuff that you're not good at, you don't like doing, get it someone else. I don't care if it costs you $20 an hour, $50 an hour, whatever. Your time is more valuable spent than other things. Let somebody else.
Hmm.
Strangely, there is somebody else who likes doing the stuff you don't like doing. So give it to them.
Right,
So
right.
I think that's step one. Like go through the tool. You can probably Google it somewhere and get to delegate and elevate.
Yes.
The other thing is stress test your business, and by that I mean uh, start by taking a day off, see what breaks, come back and fix that. Then
Hmm.
take 3 days off, see what breaks, come back and fix that. Then take
Yeah.
a week off, and just kind of keep moving further and further and further away. See what goes wrong, come back and deal with that. um,
Hmm.
you want things to fail because again, that's how you learn. That's how you know what
Hmm.
to fix. So just keep stress testing so that you can be gone for an afternoon and then a week. And then eventually you can spend 3 weeks at Napa. Like you can just like keep getting further and further away to where the
Yep.
business really doesn't need you. And if you can give yourself that sort of patience to slowly keep stress testing, you'll be just fine.
Absolutely. Great tips, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Of
If
course.
our guests want to connect with you, learn more about what you're doing at Levergy and Kick Charge Creative, or just connect with you as a business owner, where's the best place to get in touch?
They can hit me up on LinkedIn if they want. I suck at LinkedIn. So probably the best way, just if they want to hit me up on email, which is ryan@kickcharge.com. And they can kind of connect with me there.
Great. All right. Thanks you all for listening. And Ryan, thanks for being our guest today.
Thanks for having me on.